Welcome back, troops, to Let's Tab 59. So banter, pranks and bullying. When does banter and playing pranks on each other, especially in the military, that's what I want to talk about, banter and pranks in the military, when do they become bullying? Where's that line? Now, pranking each other, light-hearted pranking and light-hearted banter, that's been going on for years in all walks of life, not just in the military. Let's take, for instance, in the construction industry. I've heard stories from lads that have been an apprentice or had an apprentice on site with them, and they play pranks on them because they had a new boy, had a young 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old that's decided to get into that particular trade, and they're doing an apprenticeship for plumbing, scaffolding, could be bricklaying, whatever it is, or even just some young labourer on the site, on the building site. The older guys that have been around a bit, they're going to play all sorts of pranks. And I've seen some on TikTok, I've seen some online, how they prank these young apprentices and play tricks on them. Usually no one gets hurt, it's just they get a bit embarrassed. The young guy that's on the other end of the prank gets a bit embarrassed by it and learns from it. And that's been going on years. But of course, I think it happens probably a little bit more in the military, because in the military, unlike most other professions, in the military, the guys are living together. So they work all day with each other, whether in basic training or they've finished their basic training and they're at a unit. Not only are they working with each other all day long, training with each other, but then at night time, in their free time, they're billeted together. They're in the same barrack block. And obviously during basic training, the accommodations improved a lot. In basic training, the accommodation is more than one person in the room. It's not a one-man room during basic training. You're 4 or 8 man rooms. Used to be a lot more, I know. And maybe some armies still have that. But in the British Army now, it's about 8 to a room maximum during basic training. After that, when they get to their unit, irrespective of your rank, if you're a private soldier or whatever, you're going to get your own bunk. And of course, if you're married, you're going to a married quarter. So that time, when you've got all these troops together working with each other all day, as I say, whether that's basic training or when you've gone on to your unit, in the evening times, you've got your tasks to do, your cleaning jobs, etc. There's times when people start to prank each other. It's when does that become bullying? When does the banter become bullying? Soldiers, people, humans, are always going to take the mickey out of each other. It starts right back in the playground when you're at school. Somebody's got ginger hair or glasses, or I don't know, he's got a limp or is fat or something. Kids are cruel, you know this, and they call them names. And that seems to go on into the military, certainly. I remember, people having some awful nicknames because of maybe something, the way they look, or they've got big ears or a big nose, or I don't know, whatever. There's always going to be a certain amount of that. But pranks, that's the interesting one, isn't it? Pranks. So we've all heard them, haven't we? Go and get a left-handed screwdriver. Go and get a tin of tartan paint. Go over the stores for a long wait. And of course, they leave them there. I remember one, after basic training, one of the new lads at the unit was told to go and get some tyre pressures off of a 432. Now, for those of you who don't know what a 432 is, it's a fighting vehicle. It's a personnel carrier. And it's tracked. So obviously there is no tyres on it. It's got tracks, it's like a tank. And he was sent off to get the tyre pressures from a 432. And when he come back, after quite considerable time, he got written down a list of all the pressures of the wheels on the tank, on the 432. And when he got questioned by whoever sent him, how on earth did you get that? Because there's no air in the tyres of a tank. Apparently what he'd done, he got an old tyre pressure gauge, TPG, little silver one. Not like the digital ones you got now. And what he'd done is when he'd found on the wheels the grease nipple on the wheel, and where he'd put the TPT, the tyre pressure gauge, onto the grease nipple, he'd pushed the end of he just shot the end out a little bit as he tapped it on, of the reading gauge. There's like a little scale that comes out the bottom of it. And he took the reading from that. That sort of backfired a bit. So you come back with a full list of them. And of course there's the other ones where they prank your bed. We used to call it an apple turnover, I think, where you get somebody's bottom sheet. I mean, everyone has quilts now, but you used to have a bottom sheet on your bed, then a top sheet, and then your blankets and your counterpane on top. And what they used to do was the top sheet, they would fold it in halfway down the bed, so that when the person tried to get into bed, they couldn't get their feet down the bed because the sheet was folded in half. They called that an apple turnover, I think. One I was on was actually on my junior NCO's carder. On my junior NCO's carder, people waking up in the morning with an eyebrow missing. There was a couple of guys at night going around. Everyone was so knackered. It's quite an intense course, the old potential junior NCO's carder. Very physical, big long days, lots of cleaning and fitness, and everybody's knackered. And as soon as you got back, you know, people were just crashing out and falling asleep, in a dead sleep, a real deep sleep. And these guys were going around with a little razor blade and just gently, while you're asleep, shaving your eyebrow off. And people waking up with just one eyebrow. And I got done. I remember that it went on for some time. It happened every couple of 3 days. Somebody would wake up with an eyebrow missing. And it was all a bit of a laugh, not for the poor person that lost his eyebrow. And I remember I woke up one morning, went down to the washrooms to have a wash and shave, and I got an eyebrow missing. I was really pissed off. I was really upset, I tell you, because it was really, I had proper eyebrows then, half of them are gone, but I had quite thick eyebrows then and just sat there with one eyebrow. And it took ages for it to grow back. I think the instructors, the staff, the DS, the directing staff caught wind of all this and had a word with everyone and said, all right, stop it. But I never found out, I don't think we ever found out who was doing it. I believe it was two guys going around together that were doing it. I'll tell you another one to do with shaving eyebrows, etc. Where the guy in the block, he was a Lance Corporal, I think, and he was due to get married. And he was quite a dark guy, a white guy, but very dark, sort of tan sort of skin, thick black hair, thick black eyebrows. And this is back in the 80s, where a big, thick black tash. And he was getting married. Now, today when young lads getting married, they probably have their stag do maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the wedding. But back in the day, it was quite common to have your stag do very close to your wedding. And I think he's had his stag do, his stag night. It wasn't like they do now. They go laser shooting and they go away for weekends in Benidorm to do the stag do. Back then, you just went out on the piss with your mates for one night and that was it. Hopefully, he didn't get chained to a lamppost. But this guy had his stag do a couple of nights or 3 or 4 days before his wedding. And obviously, he got obliterated, absolutely mullered downtown. And when he woke up in the block in the morning, both his eyebrows had gone, they'd been shaved off, and half his tash, it was a big, thick black tash, half his tash was gone. You know, this great big, oh, mate, he went absolutely ballistic. Apparently, his wife-to-be, she wasn't impressed either, and he had to shave his tash off. But I don't know what he'd done with it. I think they sort of penciled his eyebrows on or something. I mean, you can imagine the wedding photos. Get the photographer state, no zooming in. But, joking aside, sometimes these pranks and this banter, pranks are a practical thing. We actually play a trick on someone, whereas banter is more verbal, isn't it? But it does come a point where those can become bullying. And that's the line. Where is that line between banter and pranks? When's that line before it comes bullying? I don't know. I don't know where it is. But of course, nowadays in the military, as in all walks of life really, you have to be very careful with your banter. Even if you're an office worker, you've got to be a bit careful of what you say to your co-workers or in front of your co-workers, because obviously you can lose your job for it. And in some cases, it can be a criminal offence. So maybe there's not so much banter going on in the military now. Maybe these pranks aren't performed. These pranks aren't performed as much today as they were back in the day. And I never remember anyone being pranked when I was in the army that went crying to the sergeant major or whatever. Oh, look what they've done to me. Because I think he just got berated for that. So there was a certain amount of suck it up buttercup going on back then. But I'd be interested if anyone's still serving or recently served, if you could let me know if this sort of stuff still goes on in the army, what sort of tricks are played on each other. I mean, you hear all sorts of stories about people's whole bed space with them in bed being carried out of the block and put on the parade square, and they wake up in the morning and they're laying in their bed on the parade square with their little bedside locker next to them or something, you know. Those kind of pranks that used to go on. I think the staff knew, the instructors knew what was going on, and pretty much turned a blind eye to it maybe. I say now I think it's probably frowned on a bit more. It probably doesn't happen as much. But let me know if it does. Let me know any good pranks or banter or horrific bullying that might have gone on. I've never really been on the other end of bullying, certainly not in the army, and never been on the other end of any horrific pranks or horrible banter, but I'm sure some of you out there have. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts, because obviously if it gets taken too far, then it's a bit more than bullying or a joke, isn't it? That's a fine line. I don't know what's being said to people nowadays in the military about that. But anyway, we'll talk about pranks, banter, and bullying. Let me know what you think. If you're new to my channel, you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, I'm saying consider it. Till the next time, troops, stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, let's tap.